on page A of Bar Malchus, first page of your downloads. It's Siyata Shmaya Yom Beis Parshas Balak Beis Tammuz Tavshin Chafei. Mimer from, again, it was Yud Beis Tammuz, also the same kvi as like today, Monday, just like today was the same thing. Then it was Tavshin Chafei, was the same kvi as that Monday was Yud Beis Tammuz. We have in our parsha, we have in the brachas of Bilam, it says, Mim Mana Afar Yaakov, who is the one that counts the dust. In other words, the many people of Yaakov that we are likened, we are so many that we are likened like dust of the earth, like the Eibusha told Avraham Avinu. Mispar Esrei Yisrael. Number of even a quarter of the Eden, or there's a different shot Rashi brings down. We need to understand that the Rebbe asked the question, why this pasuk is divided into two matters, into 2 points. One idea is connected with Yaakov. And the second idea, it's connected with Yisrael. In other words, he starts off Mi Mana Far Yaakov, and then he goes to the idea of Roiva Yisrael. So why switch between them? Of course, in the simple pshat, it's poetic to switch to Yaakov Yisrael, and many times throughout the nevuos of Bilam and the brachas of Bilam, we see him switching between Yaakov and Yisrael. But still in all, the question is, why over here is it Alpipnimis and what's the significance of it? So we need to understand why, when it goes to the second half, does it say, and the number? It says, who counted the dust of Yaakov and the number of a quarter of Israel? Why does it say, and the number? And the number that I was going to explain is unnecessary. It's extra. The simple meaning of the pasuk is, who can count the dust of Yaakov, and also limnos as Rabbi Yisrael, and who is able to count the quarter even of the Eden. The words mimana is also going on the quarter that are the Eden. The intention of the pasuk is to emphasize she'ein mispar. This whole pasuk is trying to emphasize what's the point. What's this? It's a rhetorical question. Who can count this, and what's the number of that? So if that's the point of the pasuk that's trying to emphasize the beyond number aspect of the therefore he should have said, leaving out the word mispar, number, Mimana Far Yaakov, who can count the dust of Yaakov, the Roiv Yisrael, the quarter of Yisrael, the Lama Namar Umispar Roiv Yisrael. Why does it say, and the number of the quarter of Yisrael? If you say count, the who can count will go also on the quarter of the Eden. Why does it have to say Umispar Roiv Yisrael? Goes on and asks further. We also have to understand what in Medrash Rabbah and Shir Hashirim, on the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, it says, "I have descended, I've come down to a peanut farm, a peanut orchard." So the Medrash says an interesting thing. The Medrash says, Ma egoize, what do we see from the peanuts? Hasak moli egoizim biyadecha. If you have a sack, if you have a bag filled with nuts, and you don't have place for any more nuts, try as you might, you want to stick nuts in there, there won't be any room for any more nuts. But you could put in there still things as full, even though it's full, you could still fit in there. What can you fill in? You can put into it many sesames, and you can put into it many. You could put into it also many mustard seeds because they're very small, so they will fit in, even though the sack, even though the bag is filled and overwhelmed with the nuts, and it could hold. So he goes on, says line 16, so too many converts came and were added to the Yidden. This is what it says, who counted the dust of Yaakov. So this is what the Medrash says on the word dust of, who counted the dust of Yaakov, that he calls the converts like the shumshumin and the chardol, the small pieces that are able to fit in amongst the nuts. So he says, the l'chura ein amuvan ma shayach inyan hoysaf sageir l'pirish hakosov mimon afar Yaakov. What is the connection between the converts to the meaning of the pasuk that says, who has counted the dust of Yaakov? That's the series of questions now on our parsha. So now, to explain this further, the Rebbe is going to say and explain more at length the difference between with the name Yaakov and the name Yisrael. What is the difference between these two names? So the Rebbe goes on to say, Ois Beis, line 20. The Yuvan, this will be understood by Hagdim Beer by first prefacing the explanation of Yaakov Yisrael, the difference between Yaakov and Yisrael. Here do as it's known Yaakov, that it's because what it says that his hand is holding on to the heel. Why was Yaakov called Yaakov? Because when Esav and Yaakov twins were born, so Esav came out and Yaakov was holding on to the heel of Esav as he was being born. What does that show? When you talk about Yaakov having to do with a heel, that shows on, it shows that it's a low level. Just like the heel is the lowest part in the body, it's the least sensitive, etc., etc. What's the name Yisrael? Because you battled with gods and with men. That's why he's called Yisrael. That when the Malach told Yaakov Avinu that you will not be called Yaakov anymore, you will be called Yisrael, because you battled and you overcame and you were higher than, you were a sar over those that were both men and Elikim, meaning Malachim and so on, because he battled the Malach. That shows a very high level. He's a sar over them. Yisrael means that he's higher than the Malachim. That's a very high level. Sar Kev. That's why we find in Torah the normal way, when we're talking about in the regular fashion, then we use the name Yaakov. As opposed to when we use the name Yisrael, it's a name indicating perfection and completion, because Yisrael in content means higher levels. Just like the matter is referring to the general stature of the entire Klal Yisrael, that there are those that are considered in a level that they are mastering over Malachim, mastering over men, and then there are those, the heels of Klal Yisrael. The same thing, Keinu Gam B'chol Echad Yisrael. So too in every single Yid, there are both aspects. The level that's associated with the heel and the level that's associated with mastery. The whole neshama and every neshama, yes, Yaakov. There's a part of the neshama that's called Yaakov. That is the heel, and that is the foot part of the neshama. In other words, the lowest aspects of the neshama. There's also the part of the neshama that's called Yisrael. Yisrael is also from the word that is to me a head. That even Hashem calls the Yid his head. So that's even higher than using the explanation of Sarisa and Melakimba and Nashim. That's the head of the Neshama. So too, there's a difference and distinction in every Neshama between the weekdays and Shabbos. Saying, let's explain that length of the Torah in our parsha. Pirush HaKosuv in the Torah in our parsha explains, he did not look at Oven, which is bad, evil in Yaakov, and he did not see toil. Toil in this context means, in the simple reading of the text, means that bad things. So it's a play on words. He didn't see bad in Yaakov, he did not see bad in Yisrael. That's the simple reading of the pasuk. But on a deeper level, the Alter Rebbe in the Torah explains that we're talking about the difference of the weekdays to Shabbos. Shabbos, it's a time of Leira Amol. Amol means literally work. There's work going on because we're higher even than the world. Let's see inside how he explains it. So he says, line 6, he didn't look and examine any evil in Yaakov that's going on the weekdays. During the weekdays, there's the idea of work. Like it says, 6 days, work shall be done. The 39 malachas and the weekday preoccupations that during the week they were involved in worldly matters. This low world, that there's nothing beneath it, there's nothing lower than this world. Therefore, since we are engaging with the world during the week, so here there's a possibility for us being pulled into things and in directions that we shouldn't be. Therefore, we find ourselves in the level of the heel and the foot. But we don't just have the level of the heel and the foot, but we have something else that empowers the heel and the foot. In that heel, in being involved in the world, the neshama part comes down. And in the neshama itself comes down the yud from above. And it permeates till the heel. That's the idea of Yaakov, the yud coming down into the heel. So because Yaakov, yud, the yud, the point, the pintle of the neshama, the core of the neshama, reaches all the way down to the heel, by the power of the neshama that permeates him, he is able to fulfill his mission in this world to such a degree that no evil sticks to him, that Hashem does not see any bad and any evil with it. Since it's during the week, the person is engaged with the world. So this avoid is in the way of toil and effort. So you can't say on the weekday, Loira Amal B'Yaakov. No, there is Amal in Yaakov's avoida. In the avoida engaging the world, in the avoida of Berurim, that is an Amal, that's a toil, that's an effort. But the way he does the work during the weekday, the way he engages with the world during the weekday, has to be in such a way without evil. That's what it means during the weekday, during the state where we are dealing in a level of Yaakov. So then it's like hibit oven. Then there's no evil involved. But it's still not in such a way where there was no toil. He didn't see any toil because the weekday is a time of toil. Weekday is the work. Weekday is engaging the world and transforming it. Line 19, they have through the at Shabbos. Whoever eats whoever prepares and puts in effort before Shabbos, they will eat on Shabbos. So just like we're talking about physically, that to be able to have food on Shabbos, you need to prepare it and put in work and effort before Shabbos. The same thing when it comes to the spiritual ascent of Shabbos, the spiritual level of Shabbos. How do we attain the higher spiritual level of Shabbos that follows on the heels of the 6 days of the week? A day of rest, and is prohibited to do any work and labor. Therefore, there's no room even for amal, even for toil. Not only is there no room for evil, which is in the 6 days of the week, but not even the level of work. That's what it says, that Hashem did not see any amal, not see any toil amongst Yisrael, because Yisrael is the level of the Yidden on Shabbos, as opposed to Yaakov is the Yidden's level during the week. Since during Shabbos, the way how we act has to be in a totally different way. But we need to transition. We need to go through something to elevate us and take us out of our weekday state of being and to transcend that and to go further. What is that means? So it says, therefore the transition going from the weekday to Shabbos is through mikveh on Erev Shabbos. To Inyan Habitol, top of page Zion, the mikveh is the idea of bitol, as we know. The word tevila, immersion in a mikveh, is the same letters in Lashon Kodesh like the word habitol. So, what does that mean? Why is bitol the transition between the weekday avodah of Yaakov and the Shabbos avodah of Yisrael? During that transition time, going from the weekday to Shabbos, it ceases and becomes nullified. Form of a person, the way he is in the weekday, and it becomes a new form that's appropriate and applicable to Shabbos. In other words, like a different person, changing in a way, if you will. He's not Yaakov anymore. He is Yisrael now. Just like Shabbos' effect on the entire world is hinted at in the pasuk, and the heavens and the earth and all their hosts, says Vayechulu. What does Vayechulu mean? Simple meaning is that they ended the work in the heavens and the earth. The Pirish Vayechulu Gam Lashon Kiloyan, the meaning of the word Vayechulu is also from the word expiring and ceasing. Tzemach Tzedek explains at length in his sefer called Orat Torah. What does it mean? It ceases, it ends, it expires. The form that the world is during the weekday ceases, and now it starts a whole new type of world on Shabbos. But now all the world becomes on the level of the day of Shabbos. Like it's brought down also that on Shabbos, for example, the worlds receive their highest from the level of Hashem's speech. During the weekday, the worlds receive their highest from the level of the speech of the Eibishter. On Shabbos, the worlds have an aliyah, and they go up all the way to the level of Hashem's thought. So it's understood that the worlds way down Hashem's thought are in a different quality of divine revelation and so on. Just like the worlds become changed in that transition between weekday and Shabbos, individual Yid. Through his service during the weekdays, so he affects all of his work, all of his toil, all of his engaging in the world and elevating the world during the week. That is contributing to that expiring of the world on Erev Shabbos, to the world elevating and transitioning during on Erev Shabbos. That the world should arrive at a state and situation of Shabbos day, or the day of Shabbos, that then the world is perfect and complete on Shabbos. Not in such a way that the world was lacking and deficient. Rashi brings down that on Friday, after the Eibusha finished the entire creation, so it says, Ma haya olam chaser, haya olam chaser menucha. What was the world lacking? The world was lacking menucha, and then Hashem gave that on Shabbos. But the point is, the Rebbe is playing on this expression that Rashi brings down, that the world was chaser still. Until Shabbos, the world was still lacking and missing something. So when we are on Shabbos, the world is perfect. And that's a result also of our avodah during the 6 days of the week. And like we mentioned before, that the person and the world coming to that perfection of Shabbos must go through a transition. That for that sake, we need to have the level of bittul, we need to have the state of nullification, which is symbolized by the going to the mikveh. Any questions before we go on? Okay, line 17 is Gimel, page Zayin. So this will be more understood in detail. But what we find concerning the idea of reward, the Gan Eden, we know, the heavenly abode where the Neshamas go, is over there, the righteous ones are sitting and deriving pleasure from the ray of the Shekhinah. That's the reward of our effort in this world, of our avoid in this world. This is also understood concerning avoida itself. From Gan Eden, we can understand from about the avoida itself, as he's going to explain. Hagdim, by prefacing, just like the idea of our service has to be not just with all our heart and not just with all our soul, but it has to be with all our might. Meaning, and what do we know? Chassidus always brings down, it's like very good, meaning it's a complete superlative, it's going way over the top. The ultimate avoida is that it is without the Ma'alim B'Kodesh in such a way that we have to increase and go up higher when it comes to holiness. But when we're increasing, there's no limit, because when we reach that level, we have to go up further. We reach a further level, we have to go up further. Adding stuff to no end. So just like in our avodah, there's the avodah b'chol meidach, without boundaries, without limitations. So to the reward of Gan Eden in such a way of ascending to no end. This is what it says in the pasuk, and the holy ones daily will praise you everlasting. So he says, the neshamas are called the holy ones, and the praises, that is the ascent of the neshamas in Gan Eden. The Gan Eden, they ascend higher and higher through the praising. That's why it says Kedoshim Yehalalucha, and it will be Selah in an everlasting elevation, like we're going to say. What is the idea of praising? She says, Shu Inyan Ashira, that's the singing songs of praise. Shal Yodahi Halia, that's through singing. Page Ches is the ascent of the neshama from one level to another level. Like it's known concerning what it says. There's a Mishnah that speaks about those animals that go out on a ribbon on Shabbos all week. They can go out with a ribbon on Shabbos, but Chassidus explains that Baalei Ashir means those that are masters of song. They go out, meaning they go higher through song. So song is the shira, the praises that we are praising Hashem, and through that we are going up higher and higher. Shazehu beli hefsek. It says v'kedoshim yehalalucha. The holy ones of neshamas praise you, meaning they're going higher. Sela. What is Sela? The K'mayim Rabbi saying is like Chazal say. Kol makom shenamar netzach Sela avoid. Wherever it says any of these things, three expressions, either netzach or Sela avoid, ein lehefsek ilams. It never stops. Ad ein sof, to no end. Elam aliyas elu, these ascents nechlokis l'shnei sugim kla. Okay, let's stop over here. It's a little bit. I don't know. My watch stopped working. I think we're already time. Any questions before we stop?
I have a couple technical questions from the beginning.
Okay.